Hello everyone, welcome back to another tech video. In this video, we're going to start with part 2 of our publisher series. Now, if you're new here and haven't followed this Facebook page or subscribed to our YouTube channel, don't forget to tap the follow button on Facebook and or the subscribe button on our YouTube channel to see more MCPL content. We bring you interesting tech videos every Wednesday and Friday at 1. Now, this is the second video in our publisher series. Video 2 is where we're going to finish looking around and poking around at the ribbon and then plan our project's layout and see what it needs to say. Okay, so what I want to do with Publisher is I want to create a flyer for my business page. So on Facebook, I have a business page already set up called Matilda's Malt Shop. And you can probably already tell I don't get a lot of interaction from it. And I'd like to generate a little bit of traffic to it. So here on this page, so you see here on my shop, it's a little outdated. I haven't been on here much because I don't really have many followers here. So I'd like to create a flyer in Publisher that I can then put on my social media to kind of spark some interest, get some traffic, get more likes and follows, and maybe even get people to visit my shop. Or that's my goal for creating my flyer. So I want to generate some business for my shop by creating a flyer. So I want to go open Publisher. The version of Publisher that I am using is Microsoft Publisher for Office 365. Now, knowing which version you have not only helps with troubleshooting and support information, but what capabilities and features you may or may not have based on that version. So keep in mind what I may have in my version may be different from what you'll see on your screen. So that said, don't feel discouraged if you can't find something that I may show you today. Leave me a comment if you want me to help walk you through that. So to open Publisher, you can either double click on the shortcut icon from your desktop or click on the start icon in the bottom left of your screen to open your start menu. And since we're using a Windows 10 device, we've already pinned Publisher here to the start menu. But if you don't see it here, you can scroll through your app list or click a letter, click P for Publisher to jump through that list pretty quickly. You can also use the type here to search bar that's in your taskbar by typing Publisher. And then you'll want the result that says app, and you can click to open a new one or open any recent documents that you may have created previously. And now that I have my goal in mind, I kind of want to see what I can use in Publisher to help me do that. So I could check out the templates. And since I know I want to create a flyer, I feel like I saw in the built-in templates, flyers, and I kind of want to see what they have here. So they have event, marketing, real estate, and blank sizes. Let's see. Let's go to all marketing, see what I have in here. Okay, informational. What's this look like? Okay. So what I want is something that corresponds with my vision for my shop. I like the borders around that one. That one's nice and simple. But I know for social media, it needs to be something eye-catching because people are scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And getting them to stop and at least like the post will help me get the reach that I am interested in. And none of these, let's check this one out because I like the layout. So let's see. Can I make it kind of bright? There's blue. That one's kind of interesting. And then I do want my business information to be on here. So I'm going to create new. Okay, so this is my custom one. I don't have a logo yet, and I don't have a tagline. So we're gonna just save that for now and then create. So what I'm hoping to do is use the same type of layout from this template and kind of just make it my own. Okay. So when you first open up Publisher, sometimes it's going to show you the full page. So it's zoomed out quite a bit. So down in the bottom right hand corner, you've got some options here. Should change your view. So right now I'm in single page because it's only going to be a one page flyer. But there's 2-page spread and then there's zoom out, the zoom slider that's here that you can drag across. And then there's the plus sign to let you zoom in by increments of 10. And then you've got this little star shape in the very bottom right hand corner that'll show the whole page. So it's kind of like an auto zoom. Since I need it to be a little bigger so I can read some of the font, I tend to start zoomed in. And then as I start doing a little more work, I'll zoom out every now and again to check and make sure everything looks cohesive. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And you'll see in some of that custom business information, it added it to parts of the document. So it added my shop name and then it added my phone number here. And if there were other text placeholders for the other information I included, such as the address, I could put that in any of these places as well, based on the template. So right now we have this cool banner here. And so when I click on this banner, you'll notice our contextual menus show up for drawing tools and picture tools, meaning that there are multiple mediums here. So you see we have our little snowflake pictures, and these items are all grouped together. Now I know that they're grouped because I see the little X's on the resize. And when I select an option here, it doesn't give me the full resize options because it's grouped into one piece. So that way, when you move the item, it moves all the pictures and the options or the objects with it. So my first thing is I want to ungroup this. So what I want to do is in my contextual tab, or even in my home tab, I want to go to the arrange section because the group, ungroup, and rotate options will be here. They're also in the format tab of the picture tools over here, just kind of condensed a little bit. So when you hover your mouse on top of these icons here, when they're condensed, it'll still give you the name of the item, what it does, and then the keyboard shortcut. So I want to ungroup, and you'll see that all of these options here were different pieces. So that way, if I want to say change the color of this specific item, I'll only select that item and then go to the picture tools where it already is. And I can kind of change the color of this graphic by choosing recolor. And then I can do corrections to make it lighter or brighter. Do a little something to it. Or if I want to recolor it green, depending on what I want to do, and I only want it to affect that one. When it's grouped, that would be a little difficult. So in this one, if I want to select this one, change it to be this brown if I wanted to do that. If I wanted to give it a shadow, I'm probably not going to do any of these things, but depending on what objects you select, playing around with the tools in the format ribbon will help. So when you decide, I don't like any of that, In the upper left-hand corner, your quick access toolbar here, you can undo as much as you need to. So I'm all the way back at the beginning. Now, what I want to do here is I like the layout of this, but I want to change the graphics to be a little less holiday-y, more, it's a malt shop. I want it to be kind of old-fashioned candy and brights mixed with pastels. I want it to be eye-catching. So what I can do here is, since I don't want some of these graphics here, I can do probably about two things. I can either delete all of them and put in my own graphics of what I want to include here, or when I go to the picture tab, most of the time I can swap the picture out if it's something that's an actual picture, or I can change the picture here by going into the adjust option. And this middle one here is for change picture. So this will remove or replace while maintaining the size and position of whatever I have selected. And then there's the reset, which will get rid of all of the formatting and even move the picture back to its original size, depending on how large it was when I first brought it into the document. Since I want to change the picture, I can click change picture. And what it'll do is it'll bring up the insert pictures window where I can choose pictures from a file. I can search Bing for them or pull them from my personal OneDrive. Since I'm not quite ready to do that yet because I don't have all of my graphics and images put together just yet, I'm going to go ahead and close that. But I know that that's an option, and I can kind of remember that it's over here next to recolor. So what I can do now is, since this is my title and I need this to be kind of big and bright, if I want to select just this one thing and only have the formatting applied to this one thing, I want to click and drag to highlight or triple click to highlight everything that's in that text box. And I can either use the quick pop up here to change my font size, font color, and all of that. Or I can do that from the Home tab in the font section. So I'm going to go to Bookman Old Style, change it, and kind of poke around and see what's in here based on what I like. Now, I do like the idea of some big, curly, pretty colors. I have this bird of paradise that looks pretty interesting. And since it's a little small, I want it to be pretty big. Whoop, got a little too ambitious there. Go back down. Now, you'll notice it's cutting off here because this box, well, is not large enough to display that entire option. And since I know I don't need a date and time, because this is not a flyer to advertise an event, it's just to bring awareness to my business, I can get rid of these two text boxes. So I can click on them and then do delete. And this gives me more room to make this box larger. And it looks like since it's so large, I'd have to go out a little further and then move it over to the center. And using my guides as I move this box by clicking and dragging, and I bump it against these guides here, it'll tell me once I've hit the top of the guide. And so once I have it in the spot I need it, so check the left or the right margin. It's there, I can let go. So now that tells me it's right at the top. And since it's a little close to the banner here, I'm going to shrink it just a smidge. Now I can either go to the right there and make sure it's where I need it to be. Now that might be a little high, but we can move it around later. So that's the name of my shop. Here it has like a tagline. What do I want my tagline to be? Okay, So if I want to change what this says here, all I have to do is highlight it and then start typing over it. So I want to maybe mention something eye-catching. So we could say malts, shakes, and moods. Go with alliteration. Now, of course, this font, no. So I want to highlight it. And if I want everything to be centered, I can go up to paragraph in the home tab and click the option that says center. And then I can change my font. This isn't going to be 100% of how this is going to be, but it's to kind of lay things out. To have it there for when I'm ready to finalize it and give it its final look. Now you'll see it smushed that because this text box is running into the other text box. So it's adjusting based on what it's running into. So what I can do is either resize the text box that's behind this one to make it smaller so it's not going to run into this one. So that way I can make this one a little larger. And then when they do bump into each other, you'll see like a pink border there saying where my malts, milkshakes, and moods text box is in relation to my Matilda's Malt Shop text box. So that way everything in relation to one another, you kind of have an idea based on the guides that appear as you start moving things around. But you may notice that when I reshaped this text box, it cut off my P here. So here's where my arrange tab could come into play, or my arrange section, where I can move this down. So that way I have enough room to resize to include my P here. So that way when I do move this and they maybe accidentally overlap, I can bring this one forward. So that way it kind of stays where it needs to be. Or if I need to move it to the back, you'll notice it'll adjust. Now, the other problem is that behind this text box, it's obviously filled in with a white. So if I go to Shape Fill and choose No Fill, and do the same thing for this one, even though they may bump into each other, the colors aren't overlapping. So I want to bring it forward, and that way you can still see the P behind there because I've gotten rid of the background that it kind of might have already been included in the template to be behind the text. So I'm going to make that a little smaller because I'm not going to leave it like that. But that's kind of what may happen if when you start with a template, there are going to be some formatting choices that are turned on based on what's there that may affect what you're trying to do. So you kind of have to be like, what's it doing there? So you can remove some of that formatting as you need to. So I'm going to move this down a little bit. That's not like the be all end all of where that's going to be, but that's at least something that I think I wanted to say. So here it says capture your reader's attention with a colorful description of the crafts that will be featured in your sale. I don't have any of that. And since it's for social media, I don't need a lot of words because they're not really going to read it. Because what I want them to do is go to my page and like it to follow for updates when I do words. So I'm going to actually delete this box for now because I have nothing to say. And then I want to get rid of this one as well. And then, Since I want it to be for social media, I can get rid of this for now because I want to put the social media buttons to show where I'm available on social media onto this flyer. So I've got the name of my shop. I've got a little tiny tagline. So what I can do is look and see what options I have here in the ribbon of some things that I can include. But I think the snowflakes may be distracting me from the aesthetic that I want to go for. So I'm going to ungroup this here and I'm going to get rid of all of them. So to select more than one thing, I'm going to click on the first object, hold down the control key, click the next, and next option, and then delete. And all I'm left with now is this bar here that I think I might want in the final product. So I will leave that there. Now, when you're ready to bring in certain things, you can go from the Home tab to the Objects option, and you can see if there's shapes, but I don't want to make shapes. So I don't want to make 3 circles on top of a triangle to make an ice cream cone. You know what I mean? So we're going to avoid that. But what I think I do want to do is here have different pictures going down here in this tab here, and then do a pretty background of maybe the picture of the shop. And then I want my social medias somewhere at the bottom or the top. So what I could do is include a table that's got maybe, let's do 5. And what I can do with this is use this as my grid, for instance, over in my panel. So that way each thing can go in each box and be contained in its own little space. Now I'm going to fill it in just for now, so that way I remember that it's there. Now you could at this point also go to page design and turn on some guides that may help with that, like maybe this one to help you line things up. But since this bar is black for now, that might be kind of hard to see. But you can add guides as you start to, there's this one as well, to help you line things up. But since sometimes I'm easily distracted by guides, I'm going to turn those off. Yeah, for now. And just use the guides that show up depending on how I move objects across the page. So I have that there, and I want to go over to my Insert tab, and I want to check out online pictures. Let's see what we can find here. And go with ice cream. And let's try icons. See what it gives me. Okay. So based on what I typed in there, I do want to make sure Creative Commons only is turned on because we do not want to be sued. This one's kind of cute. There's real ones. So I can kind of decide if I want to go more real or more cartoony. I don't quite know yet. That's kind of cute. So I'm just going to pick a bunch of different ones in the meantime and then figure out all the details later. Okay, so I've selected a few. I'm just going to insert them. And what you can do, so that way you don't overwhelm your canvas, is you have a lot of space that's around your page. Publisher is going to put them off, things that you insert, off to the side. So that way you can drag them in as you need them. It will zoom you out a little bit so you can actually see them, but I'm going to zoom in a smidge. And I think I'm liking this type of aesthetic. So I want to keep that in mind as I find other images. So when I'm ready to move this somewhere, I can put it here, kind of resize it a little bit, and then I can get rid of the table later, but it's just for layout purposes. And then I want to find other things that may be of that same style. Now it's a little easier to see here, but let me zoom back in. So instead of me adding those extra guides, you'll see these purple guides or these red guides like we saw a little bit earlier. That way, in relation to the candy above it, it's center, because I see the line going straight through both of those graphics. Once it's in the position I'm fine with, I can let go. And then I also want them to be kind of the same size. So this image, when I click on it and go to page or picture tools, it'll tell me in the size section that this image is 1.5 by 1.5. If I click on this one's a 1.33 by 1.33. So that's okay. They're close enough-ish to the same size, but I could reduce this one down. But I also have to keep in mind that it's including the entire space. So unlike this image that touches all 4 sides of its barrier here, this image doesn't. So it's going to come off a little bit bigger because it's got space around the borders there. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at your sizes. You may have to click on one of your images and crop it down a little bit with the crop tool to get it to be a little bit more exact in relation to its actual size. So like that. And so now we've got it at 1.5 by 1.17. So that's what I need to keep in mind when I add other images. So I can go ahead and delete these ones that are over in the margin, because I don't need them anymore. There we go. And now if I wanted to change the color of this black shape here, and maybe even just have it have no fill for now, and have an outline so that way I remember that it's there. Whoops. Did it add it? It doesn't look like it did, so I'm gonna make it a really light. Oh. Oh. Okay, so some of those things that I did were big mistakes. I don't like that I was trying to change it. So I'm gonna undo as much as I can, depending on how many times I clicked, until I'm back at the space or at the spot that I wanted to be. And maybe I don't want this so dark, so I'm gonna make it kind of a lightish gray color, because I don't want to lose it by turning it white. And then this box here, we're gonna make it have no fill. There we go. So that's what's allowing us to use our toolbar. Now, while you're adding in things over to the side, if you want to make sure things are lined up, you'll click the first object, click the next object, and in the Home tab, in your Arrange section, you've got an option for Align. You can click that to help you distribute where these items are supposed to be. Now, I even still have trouble with this sometimes, so using the guides is kind of helpful because, for instance, if you do center, there we go. Sometimes it'll move whatever you're trying to center to the center of the page. So you kind of have to play with it a little bit to get it to actually do what you need it to do. So some of the things I need to plan for the next time we're together is I need to bring in more of the images that kind of correlate to the same aesthetic here. I need to find the logos for my social medias, and I may just go to the brand resources for those pages to bring them in, and then put my handles in each of these sections here, and then consider what I want to do for a background, and then what other images I may need to find. So but that's kind of how you'll do things is you'll insert them here into the canvas, move them around, change some fonts, see how things look together, add your images, plan your layout, and kind of go from there as you move along. So that's what I have for you. We'll see you next time in part 3. And we want to thank you for watching. Follow us to find more videos just like this. Our page on Facebook is MCPL 360. And if you miss us on Facebook, you'll still find these same videos on our YouTube channel at MCPL Mo. Find our consumer technology playlist. Have a good day.